Hey guys, so it's me, Nicolette Mashile. I'm also known as the Financial Bunny. Welcome to the Financial Bunny TV. Today I want to talk a little bit about credit cards and also how to build your credit profile using a credit card and a little bit of discipline. Now remember that none of my videos constitute as financial advice. If you are looking for financial advice, please speak to somebody who is certified and registered with the FSCA. So one of the biggest questions that I get from a lot of the young people that I do financial coaching with is, Nicolette, how do I build my credit profile without getting myself into debt? And I'm like, well, it's actually very, very simple. But the problem is that there is a misunderstanding of what credit is and what debt is. So we need to just first get that out of the way before we can even carry on having this conversation. So credit is actually a facility. You've got what is called a credit facility. You've got credit. Even when you do your bank statements or when you do a statement, if you've ever run a business, or you will see that when we talk about credit, it is money that is given to you, money that is put into you. Credit always has a positive balance. And a debit is where it is got a negative balance. Go look on your statement. You will see that all under your credit, it's where your money comes in. So your salary will reflect under your credit, and your debit is when somebody takes money, and that is the debt that we're talking about. So very, very important for you to understand this. Credit history is not debt history, it is credit history. In other words, you need to be able to show that you can manage having credit, and that's essentially how you build your credit profile. So let me give you an example. A couple of years ago, I worked as a teacher. I was earning 8,137 Rand. I was very, very intimate with my numbers, so I knew exactly how much I was earning. However, one of the banks, my favorite bank, the one I always talk about, gave me a credit facility of 14,800 Rand. They were willing to give me a credit facility of 14,800. It was dependent on me as to what the facility looked like. So a facility is basically an overdraft is a facility. A credit card is a facility. A revolving loan is a facility. When you apply, people say when they apply for funding or they apply for a loan, you are basically applying for a credit facility. So for a bank to be able to give you a credit facility, they need to determine whether or not you know how to manage credit. And credit basically is, can you manage when somebody else has given you their money? Will you use it even if you don't need it? And if you do use it, will you be able to pay it back? Now, one of the best credit facilities that we actually have is the credit card. Although it's got such a bad reputation, it's actually one of the best. And I'll tell you a little bit later on why a credit card is even better than your debit account card, right? But let's talk a little bit about what makes up your credit score. Your credit score basically is an indication on a scale of how good you are with managing credit or how bad you are with managing credit. Your credit profile basically looks at the whole thing. So it takes into account everything about you, right? And then your credit report will have details of why you have a certain credit score. So your credit score is going to change based on your credit behavior, how you are managing the credit that you have been given. As I said, credit becomes debt at some point when you use the credit. The positive will become a negative when you use their money. However, for instance, a credit card, if you use a credit card, but you stay on the positive, so instead of actually using somebody else's money, you are using your own money, you will always stay on the positive side. Or even if you do use somebody else's money, but you pay it off before it actually goes into a space where they are charging you an interest, that means that you're still staying positive on your credit card. That is how you're going to build a good credit score, or a good credit profile rather. So your credit utilization, how you use the credit that has been granted to you, will play a big role in what the number, that credit score, is going to look like. Then also your behavior in terms of how do you pay back, when do you pay back, How much do you pay back? Are you sticking to the agreed upon terms and condition as per your credit agreement? So when you get given or granted a credit facility, you sign what is called a credit agreement contract. And that agreement will have terms and conditions of what happens when what happens. If you spend their money and you don't pay it back, this is what is going to happen. If you spend their money and you leave an outstanding balance, this is how much interest rate they're going to charge you. Those are what we call T's and C's of a credit agreement. If you stick to the T's and C's of your credit agreement, it means that your credit score will stay maintained at whatever value it is currently sitting on because you are behaving well. So they are looking at you and they're thinking, okay, Nicolette knows how to behave well when she's given a certain credit. So one of the things that a lot of financial coaches will say to people to be able to build their credit score is they'll say to you, go and get a clothing account. And I think I've also said this before. Get a clothing account where you buy socks and maybe underwear, a couple of ties, and you pay back that minimum amount of money and you will start to build what is called your credit score or your credit record, right? Or credit profile rather. Now, that's all good and well. But if you want to do it faster and you want to be able to unlock some great credit facilities, because let me tell you, there's nothing wrong with credit, by the way. Credit is a good thing if you know how to use it. So that's why credit education is so important in South Africa, because ultimately a lot of us are going to use credit at some point to be able to purchase our big ticket item purchases like a house or a car. So it is important for you to get good credit facilities with great terms and conditions. Good identification or a good indication of a good credit facility is when the interest rate is very low. Now, for you to be able to get a good credit facility, you need to have a good credit profile. To be able to have a good credit profile, you need to make sure that your credit score is up. And the fastest ways in which you can do this is by ensuring that you've got a mix of credit facilities. But the one you definitely probably should have is a credit card. And let me tell you why this one works better, especially if you are a salary earner or somebody that does earn money. I'm not talking to people that don't earn money. I'm not talking to people that say to me, yeah, but no. I'm talking to people that are young professionals who are in jobs and want to build their credit score because they are so eager to buy themselves a car. They've tried to go and they've told them, no, you don't have a good credit score. You can get yourself a credit card. So by the way, remember that your credit score starts being activated even when you apply for a credit card. If you are declined, that may ultimately hurt your credit score. But let's say, for instance, you do apply for a credit card and you get a 15,000 Rand limit on your credit card. Now, if you are living within your means, it will become easy for you to be able to actually build your credit profile. The reason is you can calculate on your budget. There are certain things that you know for a fact that you are going to need to buy. Things like groceries, perhaps things like your groceries, your things that you buy on a daily basis, or things that you may be paying for where there is no actual debit order. So on your on your budget, I need you to divide your budget into two. The things that go off on a debit order basis and the things that you personally pay for, that you can pay for using an account. What you need to do is to then, when your salary comes in, is to take the total of the things that you pay for, that you know for a fact that you are paying for and you are going to pay for or you're going to buy, and put that amount of money on your credit account. So let's say, for instance, your groceries are 2,000 Rand and you need 3,000 Rand to do all the other things that you need to do, maybe buy petrol or whatever. You take 5,000 Rand and you put it on your credit account. Now, you will then lose your debit account or debit card. And you will now use your credit card to swipe for everything that it is that you've already put money on that account for. So money that has already been allocated to your groceries, money that has been allocated to your fuel, money that is allocated to your entertainment, you are going to put onto your credit card. But remember, I had said you need a little bit of discipline. So the discipline does need to kick in, because you should only use the amount of money that you have allocated to the credit account or to the things that you need to actually be buying and paying for using your credit card. Now, one thing you need to realize is that when the credit provider is looking at your profile, they will see that you've got a credit account. They will see that your limit is 15,000 Rand. But what they will not see is what it is that you are doing on that account, unless you are in debt on that account. So if you've allowed an outstanding balance to not be paid and you're paying the minimum, they will be able to see that debt. But if you have a credit account of 15,000 Rand, but you're using your own money, you will actually look like you've got a credit account that you're not dependent on, you're not even using it, but you've got it. So it will ring true that you do have a credit history because you've got a credit account. But it does not necessarily mean that that credit account has to become debt for it to actually build your credit score. So you don't need to carry an outstanding balance to try and build a credit profile for yourself. You just need to have access to a credit facility where it is actually reflecting on your credit record or your credit profile. That's what you need. Yes, you can use a clothing account. However, the problem with the clothing account is generally your buying power will exceed or become increased as you buy more. So with the guys at the retailers, what they do is they will give you a buying power of maybe 1,000 Rand on your first purchase. Then you keep buying and you keep paying. Then they'll say, okay, next month we'll give you 2,000 Rand as buying power. Whereas your credit card limit will stay 15,000 Rand. You can increase it if you are getting more money and there's affordability, but I will say keep it as low as possible, but make it something that is relevant enough to be able to show that you have a credit profile, a credit facility that is in your name. However, you don't need to use it. Another thing you got to remember is that most credit cards, most credit cards are 55 days interest free. So for 55 days from the first purchase that you have made, they will count 55 days before they start charging you interest on that card. So you can actually settle a credit card balance before your interest rate is actually, before interest is actually charged on that account. But again, it needs a lot of discipline. So I would say rather even stay away from using money that is not yours on the credit card, especially if you're using it to build credit record, and rather put your own money because you're not living above your means. If you're using a credit card and you're finding yourself spending your own salary, and you're using the credit card limit, it means that you are living beyond your means. But when you split your salary into half, goes into your debit account so that the guys who you are owing, who can debit, will be able to debit and find something, and the money that you need to use, you put it on a credit card, then you are still using that credit account. I don't actually even know where this thing cut as I was recording, so I'm just going to carry on. And now there's sun here, so let me just turn this around. Anyway, so let me give you some of the reasons why I enjoy credit cards. I think there's 3 top reasons, or maybe 4 top reasons why I like credit cards. My first reason for liking credit cards is that when the interest rate, let's say for instance, you have carried over, okay, first and foremost, you won't pay interest on a credit card if you don't carry an outstanding balance over past the amount of days where it is interest free. So as I said, 55 days interest free. If you don't carry over the balance over the 55 days, you're not being charged interest. That's number 1. Number 2, some credit cards generally don't have account management fees. So they're really great because many of them don't have account management fees. The third thing that I like about credit cards, again, I traveled once to Cote d'Ivoire, and I went to a club and they charged it on my debit card. It didn't go through. And then I used my credit card and it actually went through. And then when I got to South Africa, I realized that the charge on my debit card also went through. So I had actually they double charged me at that club. So it was easy for me to reverse back the credit card amount. It was actually reversed. The third thing that I noticed, or another thing that is really great about a credit card, is that it's got traveler's insurance. Not only do credit cards have traveler's insurance, most of them also come with credit life insurance if you are retrenched or you lose your job. because of reasons outside of your own control. The other thing I like about credit cards is that they actually have some great rewards programs that you can subscribe to, or that you automatically are subscribed to, so you don't even have to subscribe to them yourself. So I really enjoy that about credit cards. And then what else? For me, it's easier for me to use my credit card because I put money on it. So I know for a fact that I'm still using my own money. On my debit account, literally the only thing that goes off, I actually calculate. I know that I need like 24,000 on my debit account because I'm paying for bonds, I'm paying rates and taxes, and those things all come through as debit orders. So I don't have to stress about it. Insurance, all as debit orders. No stress about it. I've got a couple of investments that also come through as a debit order. That's the only amount of money that I actually need to keep on my check account. And then everything else, dump it into my credit card. And then I just swipe my credit card for everything. Because really, it really assists me. And I've got a very, very good credit facility on it. Got a good limit on my credit card. And when I do need that money, I'll be able to use it. But for now, I don't need it. So I use it to build a formidable credit profile. So that the day when I go to the bank and I'm like, listen, I'm ready to buy a Khorapata, an LVD. Is it an LVD, LBD, LVD? Those big things that you use to pave the road. What are they called? The ones that I'm going to knock down some people's homes with. When I want to buy that, my credit facility must be ready for me to be able to buy that. But remember, as I said, this is definitely something to consider if you are a young professional that is still starting out and you don't have a credit profile and you're looking to build a credit profile. It's not for return soldiers who have already messed up their credit profiles and you can't even get a credit card to be able to use to do what I'm talking about. So it is for young people that are professionals that are earning a salary every single month and are able to do this because they are able to put money on that credit card. I always say if you want to be very disciplined, the moment you lose your job, lose the credit card also, because even if you say you're going to put your own money on the credit card, if you don't have a regular income that's coming in, you're not going to be able to do that. Don't put your discipline at such a test. It's a big test that you don't need to be testing yourself for. Anyway, remember that none of my videos constitute as financial advice. So don't say Nicolette said you must go get a credit card. No, I did not say that. Said you can use it to build a credit if you are looking to build one, but you've got to be disciplined. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one. Mwah, 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 mwah.